it's Matt from Freak Finder Fishing, coming to you from F3 HQ over here at Mark's Dwelling. I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about scenarios where we would use a swim jig versus a spinnerbait. I think both of those baits are very versatile. I think you can fish them all throughout the year in a variety of different conditions, but I think there's certain conditions where it favors a swim jig versus other scenarios where I'd rather a blade. And what I mean by that is kind of letting the weather kind of dictate what you're doing and what you're throwing. So when it comes down to making a selection for me versus a swim jig versus a spinnerbait, is I'm going to look at what the wind is doing. If it's a windy day and you got variable cloud cover, I'm going to throw a spinnerbait. If it's slicked over and you get a high pressure day, I'm going to throw a swim jig. Both of these baits are going to do the exact same thing for you, with the only caveat to that being you're going to get more vibration, obviously, off of a spinnerbait with the blades. So when it comes to making selections on swim jigs, when it comes to colors, we keep it pretty simple, right? So when it comes to either fishing a blade or fishing this, what you're doing is trying to mimic bait forage. And for us up here in the Northeast, we're talking perch and we're talking bluegill. So I'll keep colors pretty simple. I'll throw a green pumpkin. I'll throw a green pumpkin with maybe a little bit of purple flash. I'll throw a watermelon candy and maybe a green pumpkin with a little orange mixed in if I'm trying to mimic perch. Really, I keep it pretty simple, and I keep it pretty simple with spinnerbaits and soft plastics as well. When it comes to a swim jig, what makes a good swim jig in my mind is the head design, right? So you see here, this is a Secret Lures swim jig. The line tie comes right off the front of the nose, which allows that bait to come through grass really well. I like to think of swim jigs and spinnerbaits as a fullback, right? I mean, it's just going to run and plow through whatever you throw it into. Spinnerbait will do the same thing, but it's going to deflect a lot more because of that blade and that arm. A swim jig, a good swim jig in my mind, is something where that line tie comes right out of the cone of the nose. In terms of a spinnerbait, I'll throw basically two different types. I'll throw kind of a tandem setup like this, where you're going to have a combination of a Colorado and a willow leaf blade. I like throwing that later in the year when the bait fish forage is a little bit bigger. But if you're talking young of the year bait fish in your lake, you might want to go down to a smaller blade style. So this is a dual willow blade, but you see the blade shape is a lot smaller and a lot more slender. So I'm going to throw this in probably the spring and early summer when that forage base is still really tiny, young of the year. And then I'm going to upgrade to a larger blade size later on in the year as that forage becomes a little bit bigger. The other thing that I'm going to do a lot is I'm going to pay attention to what part of the water column I want to fish. So if I want to fish deep and slow roll a spinnerbait, I'm going to probably have something with two Colorado or a Colorado and an Indiana blade, something that's not going to give the spinnerbait a lot of lift. If I want to try to fish this high in the water column, up high, if I'm burning it, I'm going to use two small willow leaf blades, because that's going to have that bait lift up a lot better, and it's going to have it run a lot higher in the water column. So when it comes to making a selection, both great baits, both are going to get you a variety of different approaches for a lot of different scenarios. But windy, throw a blade. Calm, throw a swim jig.